How can we create opportunities for other people that maybe don't have opportunities or know how to find opportunities? And then how do we have a great impact for the end user?
If you see someone who looks like you doing something, you're like, oh, well, maybe I can do that too.
For us, design really is a holistic approach to life problems.
Hey Network Next Gen, welcome to my apartment. Come on in. Hey guys, my name is Hillary Johnson. I'm an interior designer in Chicago, and welcome to my apartment in Wicker Park. So this is the living room. Most of my style is influenced by living in Savannah and all of the really beautiful classical architecture there and the massive amounts of antique stores. I do like to mix in some more modern elements, a little bit of mid-century sometimes. It's really kind of an eclectic mix. I also really love gallery walls. I've had one in every apartment I've ever lived in. Most of the pieces are either thrifted or something my family or friends have done, and then a few pieces that I've done as well. This is our bar. It's kind of saved us during quarantine. One of my favorite things to do is hoard glassware. Velvet Goldmine is probably my favorite place to go for glassware. They have beautiful sets and they're really well priced. The actual bar itself, I don't own. I'm storing it currently for my company. They needed someone to take care of it and I offered. So it's been a part of our home for a while now. This piece was actually something that my mom bought in college and refurbished, and she's passed it down to us. And it now holds all of our random things that we can't fit anywhere else. We also have Bobby the Bobcat, which was Mike's addition to the apartment, his first addition. He keeps us safe. We thought the cats would be afraid of him, but so far they seem unaware of his existence. And we also have our scooters for getting around the apartment if you're in a hurry or just want to have some fun. Another addition of Mike's were these vintage Pennant flags. I really love them with this gold couch, the femininity of the couch with the sportiness of the flags. I'm very sporty personally, so it fits in with our vibe. I actually got this couch when I lived in Savannah. I went to school there, I attended SCAD, and this was on the side of the road for 2 days. And when I realized that no one was coming back for it, I immediately grabbed it. This is my bedroom. This room is a little bit hard for me to design because it's so long and thin. But I wound up finding 2 really thin nightstands that makes it feel more like a real bedroom. So since there wasn't really room for table lamps because of the small bedside tables, I went with this really cool sconce from CB2 to kind of light the area and add a little extra element. The rug I actually got from Everything But the House, which is an estate sale app. I also got this art piece on eBay from China, and I both love and fear it. I'm hoping to eventually hang this chandelier in here. It needs to be rewired, but until then, it's just a fun accessory. So since you walk right into the kitchen, we wanted to carve out a little bit of an entryway. So we have this rug, which is vintage from Etsy, a little swivel chair, which is actually from Urban Outfitters, and then our Kung Fu print, which I love because it's hilarious, and also it's a nice little note that you don't always have to be perfect. And then in the kitchen, we changed out all the hardware that was existing just to edge it up a little bit and to tie into this peel and stick wallpaper that we added as a backsplash. The bathroom has actually been our biggest project thus far. We, aside from the floor and toilet, completely redid it. We got a new vanity, which we just went across the street to Lowe's, new plumbing, and painted the whole thing. And this all happened in one weekend, so it was a pretty aggressive weekend redo. We also did this collage wall. My sister and I worked on it together. Her and I picked out pieces that we loved that worked with the space, and she also did this really fun figure drawing for us. Hi. Hello. This is also Louise's favorite room because she loves the sink and water, which is bizarre, but it's okay. That's about it. Thanks for coming. See you guys later.
My name is Christopher Jerome Hurd, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I am principal of an interior design firm called Hendrick, and it's been quite a journey getting here. So I was born in Smith Station, Alabama. It was the country. Houses were a quarter-mile apart, and we all had our way of getting to our cousins' houses. Growing up there in the 60s, it was very joyful in a lot of ways. Obviously, there are a lot of connotations about the South in the 60s, and some of them are very true when it came to race. But in our world, it was all about the positive aspects and the belief that you could change your world and hopefully change people's minds and perceptions of you. Faith was a big part of growing up there too. And I think the community then probably was most captured in going to church. Everybody knew everyone because it was a small congregation. And everybody, in a sense, took care of each other. There was an excitement there, and that community helped. Once you sort of express an aptitude or an ability, or even just connecting, people were always very, very encouraging. And so that gives you a little bit of a confidence. It certainly helped shape who I am now, being influenced by all of those people that were a part of my life. And in some regards, some of them still are. They're still a part of my life. So elementary school, the schools were still segregated. And then from 3rd grade to 4th grade, the schools integrated. And it was pretty scary, I think, as kids, because we knew each other. And then there were even kids, Black kids, African-American kids from other parts of the county that we were all put in this situation. And I think we all sort of clung to each other in a way so that we felt a little bit secure as we were getting, things thrown at us, not so nice things. I think as a kid, when you sort of have it in your face every day, some of the negativity and the name calling, it was pretty scary. But you had the comfort of your home and your family and the encouragement of that, saying, hang in there, you're gonna be fine. Where I grew up, we were rural and pretty poor. And so there was not a bathroom attached to our house. We still had an outhouse until I was about in the 6th grade. And we added a bathroom to the house. And I remember seeing it go up, seeing, just local builders building this attachment to the house. And I went in there one day and there was a window, but it was right at the shower and I knew it was gonna get wet. And I went and say, hey Ma, I think we need to move that window so it doesn't get wet and rotten out. And so I think that was my first architectural decision when I was probably 11 or 12. And then Phoenix City and Columbus, Smith Station is a suburb of those two areas. and when people start to buy land and build houses. I would go into that house during construction after, the crew left, and just look at things and look at the plans. And then we would steal nails so we could build forts in the woods. So, having that visual connection, I think it's always been a part of me. And it really kind of led me towards something I really couldn't define at that point. And so I think when I got into my junior and senior year, we had to do papers on a biography of a famous American. And I did Frank Lloyd Wright. And it wasn't just because, I think it was a combination of architecture, it had to be. Being able to really build something that you could play in almost in a way was really fascinating to me. So that's what led me to architecture as a career option. My first couple of years in the School of Architecture, I was the only Black person there. An advisor that I credit with helping me get through and navigate a lot of the situations in college that came up. Her name was Betty Finley. And she was an advisor at the School of Architecture. And I had a particular professor who, to put it just bluntly, he was a racist. And I had been placed in his studio. And I walked into her office and I said, I've been placed into this person's class. And she said, don't say another word. And she switched me to another studio. She goes, you need to have a level playing field, and that's going to be an uphill battle for you, and I want you to succeed. As anybody that gets a design or architecture education, you're at the building all hours of the night, and I remember being there one night, and the janitorial staff came in, and there were two gentlemen. And they had been working at the university for a long time and in that particular building, and they had not seen another Black kid there. These were African-American gentlemen, Black gentlemen. And they would, engage me and ask me about, what we were doing there. And one night they gave me like $50 out of their own pockets. And I said, I can't take this. And they said, no, you will take this because we are so proud of you. And that was encouragement. I felt like, oh my God, I can't let them down. And a sense of somebody that looks like us is doing it. When I moved to Atlanta in 1985, probably in 1989, some friends and I were walking through this neighborhood, and I was like, oh my God, one day I wish I could live in Ansley Park in Atlanta. And when this opportunity came, I said, okay, here's my chance. Coming through the front door, there's a history and a connection to my family, my mother most prominently. And placing her there as the matriarch of the house, I hope that's communicating something about me and the way that I feel about making connections and being just close to people. It's just a great feeling. I don't know quite how to explain it. I can say that I'm proud of where I'm from, and I think that's reflected in my home. But I'm also proud of what I've learned to help me create this environment. I shared a story, hypothetically, that if I were walking from my office through this neighborhood, I fully expect one day, not premeditating it, but I fully expect and would not be surprised by someone stopping me saying, where are you going? Who are you? Why are you here? If not something worse. I won't be surprised. I'll be hurt, I'll be angry, I'll be all those emotions, but I wouldn't be surprised. Always in the back of my mind, I think it's always in the back of any Black person's mind or minority person's mind, anything could happen at any moment. When the incidents with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, for me as an African American, that took me back to a place that I had thought. I will tell you this, every minority knows that things aren't just exponentially better, but there has been probably more tolerance. But when things like that happen, you know that there's this sort of underlying beast, if you will, that's still there, and that it goes a little sleepy, but then you see actions like that and you go like, oh my God, I had prayed that things like that wouldn't happen anymore, but they do. What is going on here? Why is this animosity still so prevalent? I don't understand it, because if I didn't have, growing up, if I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be sitting here. And the compassion of others to help me through my journey to get here. And with something, with the things that we've gone through in this past year, and seeing the lack of compassion it's heartbreaking and it hurts. But we move on and we have the patience to see a change in people. It's ironic, but the name of the church that I grew up in was Good Hope. I'm hopeful that I can provide an influence on someone that will have a huge impact on their life. The mentors that I have had, they were critical in my development, because literally it took me 30 years, plus years to get where I am now. And the path and the journey that I took, I wouldn't change it for anything. I tell you, for me, the joy has outweighed the difficult times. There's just something that feels right. And when it feels right, that will bring you more joy than anything.
Here we are, Location Luxe. I'm your host, Alan Canas, and here in Season 1, we'll be focused on what we're calling the Great Lifestyle Migration. On each episode, I'll be right here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Over the last few decades, we've witnessed a great migration for employment and technology development. As such, the need and demand for homes has been among the highest in the country. These migration choices are giving people an extraordinary opportunity to explore new locations, amenities, and lifestyle options. And that's why we're here. Location Luxe. I am so excited to welcome my friend Daniella Stonefield, who is a top realm partner and a top real estate agent in South Carolina. Daniella, thank you so much for joining us today.
Alan, I can't tell you how glad I am to be part of this. It's a wonderful project. Thank you.
I'm a little excited and a little trepidatious, just a little, because typically you're the interviewer and you are so terrific at it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
So Danielle, we know South Carolina is so much more than a destination location. It is a beautiful lifestyle. But before we get into that, please tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about the changes that are going on with your business.
Absolutely. Well, I guess the first question is, how long do I have, right? So we'll try and make it quick and to the point. So, of course, as you said, my name is Daniella Stonefield, and my partner, Rick Hollifield, who is just off camera. He and I work with our clients together, and that is one of the things that our clients absolutely love about our process. And so with that, we have been in this business for quite some time, but we just recently rebranded to Elevate Properties. And that idea of innovation and inspiration and elevation is really what bore that out into Elevate Properties. And our brokerage, of course, still is Charter One, which is the top brokerage in this area by a lot. I don't want to be a little braggadocious, but I, can't help it. It's a great company, and it's kind of the engine under the hood, if you will.
So why did you decide to move to South Carolina and then decide to stay?
This area it's kind of this, not to get woo-woo, but it's almost like this energy vortex. You get here and if you connect to it, there's just nowhere else like it. What actually brought me here originally, funny enough, was an interest in one of our sister cities, which is Savannah, Georgia, just to our south. That was actually what turned me on to this region in the first place. I love Savannah. We go there all the time. But the Low Country, which is sort of this region where I'm standing, that's Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort, really south of Charleston, all the way down to Savannah. That's also our service area. But that is really the place where we live and work and play and do all the great things that there are to do here.
And Daniella, speaking about where you're standing, where are you right now? It's gorgeous.
Thank you. It is. So behind me is the Shelter Cove Marina. This is such a beautiful place. Lining this walkway, which is quite long, are shops, restaurants. There's a lot of live music here. You can come here in the summers and see the Shelter Cove fireworks. It's just a phenomenal place. And this is also residential and commercial. So people have their offices here. They have their homes, their second homes. It's a bustling area.
What is the culture like? The downtown, the restaurants, the golfing resorts, and actually the schools, because you have younger people moving in.
We don't really have what I call an anchor city. We don't really have a sort of central hub that everything else flows from. In some ways, the place that has the most national and international eyeballs, if you will, awareness, is Hilton Head Island, and of course that spreads out through the rest of the area. But by and large, this area is it's pockets without a city. As far as downtown and culture and things like that, the actual closest thing that we have to a downtown, if you will, is the historic area of downtown Beaufort, which is north of the Broad River. And that is fabulous. It's dining, it's shopping. It's the second oldest city in South Carolina. So if you want history, you want river, the abundance of the agricultural land that's around here, a little bit more of a residential feel in some ways, Beaufort might be a great choice for you. Bluffton is growing. It has a very low median age. It is just going crazy. And there is a lot of development happening there as well. That is sort of the mainland portion of this area. And then, of course, coming down that sort of crescent along the coast, then you hit Hilton Head Island. And that downtown, as I mentioned, is sort of the Shelter Cove area. We also have an area called Coligny Plaza. A lot of, very touristy, very fun. If you want to play tourist for a day, Coligny is where you go. You can go and grab some ice cream, grab some dinner, do a little bit of beachy shopping, and then go right, speaking of the beach, go right to the beach, because as we know, that's a huge draw for our area. And frankly, because the population is growing so quickly, new schools are going up, it seems, almost every year. Now, of course, that's not quite literally true.
How easy is it to get in and out of South Carolina?
It is getting increasingly easier to get into and out of our Low Country area. So we've got a number of airports. The Savannah Hilton Head International Airport is the primary airport of this little location, this area. But increasingly, the Hilton Head Airport, which is the most darling airport you ever want to see, it is a single terminal airport. It's just the cutest thing. And actually, it's a little bit more than cute at this point. It is seeing increasing air traffic. Airlines are adding flights to it. There are more and more nonstop or one-stop flights. You can get to Hilton Head directly from a number of cities.
Where are most of your buyers coming from?
Historically, a lot of our buyers, we were the spring break second home destination for places that you could get to in 2 to 4 hours drive time. So that radius has always brought a lot of buyers to our area. So you were looking at Columbia, South Carolina, which of course is our state capital, and Charlotte and Atlanta. But increasingly, we are seeing people come from the Northeast and Midwest are huge drivers in this area. New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Ohio. This is actually the first time in our history, by the way, and you'll be interested in this, that we are seeing more and more of an interest from the West Coast. So we are seeing more interest from Los Angeles, the Bay Area, San Diego, San Francisco, and even Seattle. As this area continues to have increasing levels of awareness on the world stage, we are the tourist stop after the Masters, which is a big deal, and that is the RBC heritage. That is a huge deal in this area. We paint the Harbor Town Lighthouse plaid. Everybody goes crazy. It's fantastic, so much fun, whether or not you're a golfer. It's such a wonderful thing. And it's just this vibrant place. We were voted the #1 island in America 4 years in a row. That's pretty impressive. Wow. Considering that we have Hawaii.
What are the tax savings there in South Carolina especially compared to California?
So this is a great topic because we are extremely favorable. So when people ask this, I know some of my colleagues in other states, they kind of steer the conversation away from this, but we are actually very, very glad to have this conversation. We are actually at about half the national average where property tax is concerned. So we're just slightly over 0.5% of the fair market value of the house on average. Now, of course, that fluctuates not only based on where you actually land, but whether or not it's a primary or a second home. We have an exemption in place for primary homeowners that makes it extremely favorable to call South Carolina your home. In terms of income taxes, we really follow federal guidelines. It's a very standardized, very simplified system that we have here. We do have a lot of exemptions as well, especially for our retired folks and people who are getting up a little bit in age, pension, things like that. There's a lot of things to consider there because there are a lot of tax benefits. Fortunately, where our taxes are concerned, there are a lot of surprises for people, and they're almost always good ones, which you can't always say when you're talking about this topic.
That's true. And Daniella, tell us about the seasonal activities that you have there. So we know golfing is one. What additional seasonal activities are going on in South Carolina?
Yes, well, of course, we can't go and talk about the Hilton Head area without talking about golfing. That is like one of the major things, but it is a misconception that that is all we have. You know, when I talk to people, assuming that they even know where we are, that's number one. But number two is, if they do, they really think two things. Let's say three, to be fair. Golf, retirees, beach. Now, do we have those things? Yes, indeed we do, and all of them are fabulous, but we have so much more than that. We have 11 miles of beaches, so many water sports. We've got kayaking, sailing, paddleboarding, fishing, shrimping, crabbing, you name it. If the water has it, we have it. Golf, of course, as we talked about, we have over 40 courses in the area. Tennis and pickleball, we have over 300 courts, and we have 6 major facilities. Palmetto Dunes, which actually is our neighborhood where we live, it's an oceanfront resort, fabulous place. It has 24 pickleball courts. That sport has just exploded, and Hilton Head has really embraced it. Yes, exactly. Biking trails, nearly 70 miles, sport fishing, birding, we have disc golf, we have a skate park, we have farmers markets, agriculture. It's such a rich and abundant lifestyle, which, as you can tell, I'm excited. There's a reason for that, because I get to live here.
Daniella, what are you seeing in appreciation year after year?
Yeah, so last year it was actually surprisingly low. So year over year, we're looking at about 7% appreciation market-wide. Now, the real appreciation that we're seeing is on the lower end, price-wise. Those are the homes that are just being gobbled up, grabbed up, and you can imagine why that would be the case, because we have a lot of young families that move in and about the area, and they have to be here, so they have to buy.
What can a buyer looking to migrate to South Carolina expect?
That's a great question, and I have to answer it first with a question, and that is, what exactly do you want your life to look like? This is the question that we ask all of our buyers, because we have such a varied and diverse area, and where you end up and what's going to make you happy ultimately is dependent upon what do you want to see when you wake up in the morning? When you open your eyes, what do you look out at? What is your view? What can you do? Do you want to be able to walk somewhere? How important is the beach? That's a number one question. Do you golf? What kinds of things do you want to be involved in? So all of these questions are going to inform where you end up. The Hilton Head Island is the only choice for some people. For other people, it's not the right call. And that just depends on what you want. But in terms of price point, that's also going to depend on the answer to that question. Let's assume that you want to be on the ocean. You want to be on the ocean, you need to be ready to spend at a minimum about $5 million right now, all the way up to 10. So it's not a massive range as far as other beach markets can go, but that's about what you're looking at. You get back off the ocean, it's pretty fair game. If you have $500,000 to spend, we can get you something very nice. If you have $1 million, we can get you something very, very nice. And you can probably walk or at the very least bike to the beach.
What conditions are homes being put on the market? Are they renovated? Are they as is?
The answer is yes and yes. Are they renovated? Sometimes. Are they as is? Sometimes. It really just depends. And of course, we as professionals want to present our product as beautifully and pristinely as humanly possible. Rick and I actually, we've become known as people who kind of fix things a little bit. A lot of these homes sometimes maybe have been on the market for a very long time. And then in other cases, you get brand new. Some people do spec in this market. It's not a huge part of our inventory, but some people do spec. We do have new builds that are going up in kind of a mid-level price point.
Can you tell me a little bit about the architectural style that somebody could be expecting when they are looking to buy in South Carolina?
You'll see a lot of the styling that we have in this area is what you consider the low country look, right? It's that sprawling front porch, nice and big. It's got the railing. You can see your neighbors. It looks across the lawn. You probably see some tabby stucco, maybe some board and batten siding. It's a wonderful coastal chic look. And we have a lot of condos. For whatever reason, we call them villas in this market. It sounds great. I don't know where it came from, but when you hear villa, that's what we're talking about. Condos and townhomes. We have a lot of attached properties, of course. We have a wide range of architectural styles, Mediterranean, Spanish, Georgian. The list goes on. You see a lot of different things here because people come from all over and they bring their style.
Danielle, it sounds wonderful. There's something for everybody. One of the questions I ask everybody that comes on the show is, what is your favorite buyer story?
So early in my career, I had a woman, and we've done a number of deals together over the years, but she really didn't know the area and she didn't know what she wanted. And after showing her over 40 homes, she was one of my first buyers, 40 homes in a number of neighborhoods, scratching this, missing that, any number of things. One day, and we've been working together for quite some time at this point, we finally found her home. And what she shared with me is her father had left her money so that she could buy her very own home on Hilton Head because they used to vacation here when she was a child. And she started to cry when I handed her the keys and she thanked me. And throughout our whole process, she had never told me that that was part of her story. But when I learned that, that was when I really connected to this business.
Oh, that's great. Daniella, I want to thank you for being on today's episode of Location Luxe. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is all mine, Alan. Thank you so very much for having me. I'm so glad to have been able to share a little bit of information about our slice of paradise with you.
Hi, I'm Pamela Giacarino, Editor-in-Chief of Luxe, Interiors and Design. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're talking about the new outdoor living room, and I'm speaking with design powerhouse Elizabeth Margulies, Vice President of Marketing for Caesarstone North America. Caesarstone is an amazing brand that makes court surfaces design forward and on the cutting edge. It's also a material that designers can be truly creative with, especially outdoors. Liz, hi, it's so great to see you.
It's so great to see you too. I wish it was in real life, but I'm still happy to see your shiny face.
I know, a Zoom we will go. There's so many interesting things to talk about when it comes to courts, but you know, one of the things that I really wanted to speak with you about today is this whole notion of, you know, outdoor rooms sort of coming out of the pandemic, and because of the pandemic, we have seen demand for outdoor living rooms really soar across the country. And I think, homeowners, they want outdoor kitchens, they want these chic seating areas and sort of structures that make the outdoor living space look as good as what's going on indoors. And of course, Caesar Stone, who's like always innovative, responded with like the new outdoor collection. So tell us a little bit about sort of that driving factor and the thinking behind taking the luxury of courts outside.
Because our company is a design-led company, I mean, that's how we think of ourselves primarily. We're in an always-on R&D product development kind of mode. So we've been looking at outdoor courts for quite some time, and we wanted to make sure that we brought the best to the market. We wanted to make sure that it was UV rated. We wanted to make sure that it stood the test of time as our indoor product does, but outside. So in temperatures of 100 degrees above zero to, minus 25 degrees below zero and everything in between. We launched the outdoor product at Cove 2020, really like literally just before COVID hit. And so, once that happened and everybody really had to stay home, whether by bylaw or, just to feel safe, we really saw the explosion of the product, right? We really saw it taking off because I think what happened was that, as you said, people really wanted to enhance their living spaces and they really need to expand their living spaces. Once everybody is working from home, schooling from home, cooking from home, gaming from home, all of a sudden the walls start to sort of close in and you're like, oh, I need to find some additional space. And so naturally people went outside. And again, to your point, one of the things that we do at Caesarstone is, we design beautiful products. And so we wanted to make sure that the outdoor product was as beautiful as our indoor because people do want to, as you said, have their aesthetic extend outside. They don't want it to seem like two disparate sort of spaces. They wanted to extend their living spaces outside. And so that's why we came up with the palette that we did. In order to answer that and in order to respond to some of our most popular colors. So, in a nutshell, it was sort of the zeitgeist of, being the right place at the right time with the right product. And we've been, really, really happy with the response to the product and really encouraged and stimulated by the way that people have been using it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I want to take a minute for anyone watching to nerd out on the importance of, your material, particularly, both in the kitchen and if you're building sort of an outdoor, kitchen or seating area, the material is so important. You're cutting on it. Sometimes you're sitting on it. It's got to hold up indoors, outdoors. And I think it's something that, anyone watching or anybody investing in material really needs to take a minute and do a bit of research. And I know, Caesarstone, why we love you guys so much is that, again, it's that innovation in the materials. And take a minute, Liz, and tell us about like what is involved in sort of that process when Caesarstone's saying, okay, we're going to develop an outdoor application. And what does that look like? Is it a year in the mix? And how are you, nerd out a bit for me and for our viewers on sort of how that works and what that looks like?
I mean, this is actually the fun part. I mean, I think that the whole sort of, we're zooming this for now, but I know the last time we saw each other, we were at a great party for the gold list and everything. But really, the backstory, as you said, the nerdy part of it, where we're getting our hands dirty, is almost more fun than that. So, we believe that we've perfected the indoor quartz surface in the sense that we've made it 100% non-porous. In the sense that, it's scratch resistant, stain resistant, and all the things that we know are so important to people. And that's why we took our time, because we had to make sure that those same attributes applied to the outdoor material. So if you just use the indoor material outside, certainly from an integrity perspective, it would hold up. But what we did see was that because of UV rays, it could yellow over time. It could fade over time. So we had to go back to, the mad scientists in our laboratory and figure out, a proprietary, so I can't really say, but a proprietary formula that would, make sure that we still had all the attributes that we had for our internal product, but also be able to be used outside as well, so that we didn't have those issues of UV yellowing and fading and possibly chipping over time. So it takes I'd say that it's been in the works for us for over 2 years. We like to say, for the most part, we are first to market on any kind of innovation, but when we're not, we're still best to market on any innovation. And so, we took our time to make sure that the formula that we were using, the resins that we were using were element proof, that it could weather any kind of weather, for a turn of phrase of that. So that's what we really spent our time looking at. And almost more importantly, and we're so glad that we did this because of what's happened over the last 18 months, is I think that originally, and when you may speak to people, I think that people generally associate outdoor living and an outdoor kitchen in particular to obviously warmer climates. And so we originally thought the same, Florida, Southern California, Texas, those would be the spots that the product would take off. And I think because of the pandemic, we've really seen, every region take this on, and add heaters to their outdoor space and add fire pits to their outdoor space, which has been terrific because the other thing about the UV, the outdoor collection is that it has a higher fire rating. So you can do fireplace surrounds outside. You could do pool surrounds. You could do hot tub surrounds. You could do tabletops with it and, design your own furniture. So, the nerdy aspect is that, it has so many applications, and we've just been so jazzed by seeing, what people are using it for. I mean, I keep on saying that I didn't know that we were going to be in, the she shed business until we launched this product, right? And the extent to which people are, really like, scooping up their garages and having, a solid surface, a quartz surface in their workspace, in their garages as well. And I think it goes down to, the quality of the product and to be honest, a safety and hygiene issue as well. Because it's non-porous, it means nothing gets in there, right? And that's not the same with a natural stone that is quite porous and that you have to reseal over time. If you have to reseal something, it means that stuff is getting in there and you can't always get it out. So with Caesar stone, you never have to seal it, which means obviously you never have to reseal it, and it's 100% non-porous, nothing gets in there. And so again, to your point, when you're baking on it, when you're proofing sourdough, when your kid's licking up spilled ice cream, you don't have to worry about it at all. And so, people use our product because it helps give them also not just a sense of beauty, but a sense of control. I think over the last year and a half, there's this, sense that we don't really know what's going on out there. We can't really control it, but we can control our homes and we can control the safety of our families. And we're happy to be able to contribute to that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, nowadays, homeowners, they want and crave materials that are durable and low maintenance, both indoor and out. We saw this huge trend the last 10 years in performance fabrics, right? Where people are like, I want to, if my red wine spills or my doggy wants to go on it, I don't want to have like a fuss and a muss about that. And I think that's what's so important with, Caesar stone and going outdoors, because it stands up to the test of time. I love also, leave it to designers to come up with like such interesting ways to utilize, quartz. And I love the she shed. I think that's good. I was going to ask you, like, what's one of the most surprising things that you've seen, but it sounds like, fire pits are trending and we love the she shed, and they're using it in so many different ways.
You could build an outdoor studio for all your painting.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. A Caesar stone art studio.
That's
Whatever
right.
Heart
That's
desires.
Right. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And they can cut it and make their own tabletops, make their own kind of furniture, bench seating, whatever they want to do.
Well, that's what's so great. And I think the relationship and the trust that Caesar stone has with the design community is what allows designers, and architects, landscape architects to be, playful, and that they trust that quality. They know, right? Because they've got to stand up behind whatever they're putting in, for a client. So I wanted to also ask you about sort of the colorways. I think, one of the other things that Caesar stone is so, has a great reputation for is just being, on the cusp of color trends and what people want. And I think you've launched this with sort of 3 colorways for designers to play with, like a concrete gray, a sandy white and sort of the milky white with charcoal veins. Talk a little bit about, what was that decision like, and did the thinking between indoor and outdoor play into the color palette choice?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, what we looked at was, as much as we have such a huge assortment of colors, people still gravitate towards a white with a little bit of veining in it, some grays and some concrete. So we launched with three colors. Palm Shade is the white one with the veining that you referred to. Midday is the lighter white, and then Clear Skies is more of the concrete. And so they really matched and complement our top three colors that we sell inside. And again, it goes to that extension of your inside outdoor space as well. But they also really work well with a natural environment. They're muted and they're subtle, but at the same time, the beauty is in their simplicity. We didn't want to create anything that looked like it was competing with anybody's natural environment. So again, we took a regionality kind of perspective into it, that these would, look well in place regardless of where you lived in the country. That they really are a focal point of your landscaping and your backyard, that they don't overtake it. We didn't want it to be too busy, because at the same time, you are embedding a grill into it. You've got some other elements with regard to an outdoor kitchen, if you're using it for a pool, if you're using it, for a fire pit. So we really took a muted, more subtle approach to the first three colors that we launched, but also knowing that they were already, very popular with the indoor product as well.
Yeah, and we've seen that trend too in terms of even, indoors, particularly in the kitchens, of things, going more white. So I love that. You guys are always on the cutting edge in terms of what's trending in design. I feel like you guys have a crystal ball in that regard, and do such great, research. So yeah. I have to ask you, as for my final question, sort of like, what can designers and consumers look forward to next from Caesars? Like, what's coming next year during Cove, which is the big kitchen and bath trade show for the industry?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, we're in an always on R&D kind of cycle. So it's interesting that you asked that question, because just yesterday we had a global creative group meeting where we were looking at everything that's coming down the pipeline. I think that you're going to see some really interesting finishes, which we're also known to be first to market with, and some new colorways and patterns. But I think that the success of the outdoor product, the success of this innovation, is certainly something that we're going to keep on pursuing for everyone.
Well, that is great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Margulies. And I think what I need to do next is go on the Caesarstone website so I can pick out the materials for my outdoor artist studio.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, me too. Well, it's so great to see you, and thanks for being part of DesignTV.
Thanks so much, Pam.